Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Kesubos Kuf Beis. We are holding on Kuf Aleph Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Let's pick up where we left off yesterday. This fellow took a piece of paper, and on it he writes, look, I owe you $100, without mentioning his name or signing on that paper. He hands it to his friend in the presence of two Eidim, but he fails to designate them, to invite them as observers. He doesn't say, Atem Eidai, you are our witnesses, which would give it some, formality, give it more value, give it more weight, would indicate seriousness. So he didn't verbally designate them as witnesses, but he did put his words into writing, which indicates, more seriousness than just, a flyby comment, which could be just interpreted as a prank, as a joke. Does it work or not? Are those words put in writing considered like a haida'ah, an admission? He was minded that he, in fact, owes him that money, and he can't just go back on that. Or shall we say it's just a fleeting comment? It may or may not be true. You can't hold him to his word. Rabbi Yehuda says he's chayev. Rish Lakish says it's just words, no value to it. Says the Gemara on the second line from the bottom. Tanan. Let's refer for a moment back to the Mishnah. Isha. He marries a woman, upaska ima, and she makes a deal with him. She brings along her own daughter from her previous marriage, who she'd like to be looked after and fed by her new husband. She strikes a deal with him. Lozun as bita chamesh shanim, that he feeds her daughter for the next 5 years. Chayiv lozunu chamesh shanim. In fact, he is obligated to stand by his word. My love, let's assume we're not speaking about, a plain obvious ABC situation where there was a proper shtar written. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a point. It wouldn't be a chiddush. Wouldn't be a point. Why would the Mishnah have to mention this? Apparently, we're speaking about something of a twist, some inferior commitment, perhaps as we proposed. Ki'agavno, such as this case where he put his words into writing, but there was no kinyan, there was no chasima, and in fact, he is held to his commitment. He has to keep his word. That's a right to Rabbi Yehuda that he's chayev. And he can't just, go back on his word and say, well, I never meant it, I never said it. The fact that she has it gives her that koyach, that power to collect. Answers the Gemara, loy. Perhaps we're not speaking about that type of scenario, rather b'shtori psikta, uked Rav Gidl. This was, a pre-marriage type of arrangement, where the families get together, and they commit various sums, for the new couple. And in that case, they actually wrote a shtar. They wrote up a document with eidim, with signatures. It's a proper document, unrelated to our discussion. Uked Rav Gidl, Dam Rav Gidl Amarav. So the two fathers sit down, father of the chassan, father of the kala. Please tell me how much are you offering for your son? How much would you like to contribute to the new couple's life? Kach v'kach, such and such. V'kama ata noisin lebitcha, and how much are you offering for your daughter? Kach v'kach, such and such. Amda v'kitru, they proceed, and the kiddushin takes place. Kanu, their words become binding. It's a legally binding commitment. Hein hein advarim. These are the words haniknin ba'amira, which become legally binding even by way of just expression. The Gemara Amud Beis will explain, because of the excitement and anticipation of the upcoming marriage, just words, mere expressions, constitute a formal commitment which allows the Eidim to then go ahead and take those words and put it into formal writing and formulate an official document. So we are speaking about a proper document, no connection to our discussion where it's just my words on a paper. Tashma, here comes another raya to our discussion. The Mishnah says, Kosav l'koyin, a fellow who had a bechor, he turns to the kohen and commits to him in writing as follows: Shani chayv l'cha chamesh shloim. Look, I'm going to give you 5 coins, which incidentally is the exact amount used to redeem that bechor, and that money is given to the kohen. But in this case, instead of just doing the pidyon haben outright, he took a piece of paper and committed these words in writing: I will give you, I am chayiv to you 5 sela. What is the halacha? Chayiv liten loy chamesh shloim. The father now has to give the kohen 5 selaim on top of redeeming him for another 5 selaim. Even if he gives him that money, that is not considered a pidyon haben. Why? Oh, apparently, because these words put in writing constitute an obligation. It's a new chiyuv, unrelated to pidyon haben, as per Rabbi Yochanan's shita. That even this type of personal pseudo document generates a chiyuv. Answers the Gemara, no. Here it's different. Shani hasam to mishubad lemidayraisa. Keep in mind, this father is obligated. He's committed minat Torah to pay this amount. So he's not actually trying to generate a new obligation of another 5 sela. He is referring to the old chiyuv, the standard chiyuv of pidyon haben. In which case, once we already have the basis for this obligation, minat Torah, you can just sort of solidify it and confirm it by way of this pseudo-official document, this personal IOU note. So here it's different because it's based on a firm minat Torah commitment. If that's the case, amai einoi podi. Sorry, amai kosav. So then why did he even need to write this document if he's chayiv minat Torah? The answer is de levarer loy kohen. He just wanted to make a personal commitment. You're going to be my kohen. So he put that in writing. If that's the case, so when he does the pidyon and he gives him the money, why doesn't it count as pidyon haben? He was chayiv minat Torah. He designated this specific kohen. He gave him the actual pidyon haben money. We're done. The answer is kedu'ula. There's a rabbanon concern here. The Amar Ula, Dvar Torah, you should know the minat Torah, it works. Padoi, by handing over the 5 sela, it's a done deal. Padoi likashayitin. Umay time amru brunoi eni padoi. Why then did the Chachamim say it doesn't work? There's a concern. Because people might mistakenly misinterpret what happened. Gezerah, Shema Yomru, Poidin B'shtoris. When people see that we consider this to be a proper legal process, a proper pidyon haben, they will misconstrue the facts. They will assume, right, they had seen him giving him the shtar. They'll think that you can use a shtar for a pidyon. So let's say I have an IOU or a proper document. Somebody owes me money. I take that shtar chayiv and I hand it to the kohen in lieu of payment because the shtar is also worth something. People are going to think it works, just as it worked in this case. They'll think that I gave him a shtar. They won't realize that I actually followed up with money. And if a shtar works here, it works elsewhere. And as we know, it does not work. Rashi brings a Mishnah Bechiris. You can't use a shtar for pidyon haben. So back to our question. Suppose it's just a personal IOU. Does it obligate the fellow or not? Rabbi Yehuda says yes. Rish Lakish says no. Amar Rava Kitanoi. Actually, I have discovered a machlekes tanoim which matches our machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rish Lakish. In a case where a fellow signed on, but he didn't really formulate it formally, does that constitute a chiyuv or not? Orev hayotzi achar chisim shtoris. You have a properly structured loan document with signatures on bottom. Then you have the orev, the guarantor, the underwriter, adding on his 2 cents at the bottom after the chasima. You know, and they write, okay, Ruvain is the Arev. He didn't actually write his name there. He didn't sign his name. He just made reference to this fellow coming along and offering his guarantee that this loan will be paid back. So unlike your conventional procedure where the Arev is actually included in the shtar itself, in the body of the text, and then you have the Edom signing. So that's a formal Arev commitment. Here he came after the fact. And he added him on the bottom. He was obligated. He must back up that loan. And in fact, if the borrower is to default on that loan, the creditor, the malva, can come collect from the Arev, provided he has available properties. You can't go and extract from his buyers because that's the halacha. It's not a formal document with Eidim. Eidim are the ones who typically spread the word and allows buyers to beware before they purchase his fellow's properties that have a lien on them. Here we don't have that configuration because he has added his name after the bottom of the document. It's not really included in the formal composition of the document, so you can collect from him if that need arises, but you can only collect from free and available properties. In fact, it was a masa, a story as such. Rabbi Yishmael, this type of situation, presented to Rabbi Yishmael, and he confirmed, you can go ahead and hold the Arev liable as per his available properties. So Rabbi Yishmael clearly holds like Rabbi Yehuda. We don't have a formal commitment. The Arev is just signing on the bottom as a PS. We hold him to his word. We hold him accountable. He's committed. Ben Nanas disagrees. Amar le Ben Nanas. You should know that the creditor can never go and collect from the Arev's properties, whether available or tied up. It doesn't matter. He's totally uncommitted. Amar le Lama. Rabbi Shmuel responds, why do you say that? Amar le Ben Nanas responds with an analogy. So he sees his friend choking the other person, jumping on it. Oh, you owe me $1 million. When is it coming? He's choking him to death. And this other fellow walking by sees what's going on. He says, leave him alone. Leave him, let him go. I'll take care. Don't worry, I'll pay you up. Is he obligated? Of course not. Potter. There's no obligation whatsoever. He was just trying to get him off his back and save his life. This is not your typical Arev commitment. You see, why does the Arev commit himself? Why is he willing to lend his name and back up the loan? He feels proud. He feels good. Look, the loan was issued based on my trustworthiness. So he's willing to go the extra mile and commit himself entirely to back up the loan. But on this case, the loan has already been issued way back in the past. I'm just trying to save the day here. Shaloi al emunosoi hilvahu. The halva was not issued based on the emun, on the trusting of this fellow. Okay, so that's Bananas' opinion. Unless it's a formal underwriter commitment, a formal arevus inside the shtar at the time of the loan, there's no commitment whatsoever. Says the Gemara, okay, so perhaps this lines up with our machlokes. Lema, we can suggest, the Rabbi Yehuda, the Amak Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda holds that even an informal commitment is considered legally binding. That's like Rabbi Shmuel. Even a PS on the bottom of the shtar chayv constitutes a commitment. Rish Lakish, the Amak Bananas. Rish Lakish disagrees, like Bananas, nothing to it. Is that so? Responds the Gemara. Aliba de Bananas kuli amalei pliki. There's no discussion regarding Bananas' opinion. Rabbi Yehuda, who considers even an informal commitment to have a legal validity, cannot be following Bananas or Shita, who does not consider this fellow committed at all. And Rashi adds a point. The whole concept of being an Arev is sourced in the Torah. Yehuda said, Anochi Arvenu, I will guarantee Yosef's return to you, Yaakov Avinu. So the concept of Arevus is rooted in the Torah. And still, Bananas says that unless it's done formally, it has no meaning. So Rabbi Yehuda will not go with Bananas. The question is, what does Rabbi Shmuel hold? He held that even this type of a delayed arevus is activated, is considered legally binding. So Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shmuel, okay, that's clear. Rabbi Yehuda holds that even a pseudo-legal commitment is binding, that matches Rabbi Shmuel's shita. However, Rish Lakish will say, you know what? I'm also there. I will also follow Rabbi Shmuel. Ad kan like Amar Rabbi Shmuel Hassam. Perhaps it's only over there where the Arab is just coming to back up the loan. Over there, Rabbi Shmuel says, even if he comes, at the end of the day and just latches on, it works. You know why? Elo de shayach lehi l'shibuda da'araisa, because the concept of an Arab is rooted in the Torah. And the Farshim explain, there was a loan, right? That's a given. Nobody's contesting the loan. There's a legal document to back that up. And I'm coming as an Arab to sort of latch on to that process. So I'm committing to be an Arab, which is a Deiraisa concept, and I'm latching on to the Chiyuv, Deiraisa, the Leiv already has. So over there, even though I'm not coming formally, I'm just adding the PS on the bottom of the shtar, it jumps on the bandwagon and commits me as well. Aval hocha, but in our story. Which story? The fellow who took a piece of paper and wrote, I owe you that money. You don't, we're not discerning any shibud min HaTorah here. Who knows if it ever happened? There's nothing absolute. There's no document to sort of latch onto. You're starting from scratch. Who's to say this type of informal, declaration has any legal standing? Okay, so before we continue, let's just summarize. We had a machlekes between Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish. A fellow just commits informally. I owe you this money. Does it work? Rabbi Yechon says, sure, because it's in writing, it has validity, it has extra kayach in front of Edom. So even though it's not a properly formulated document, he's committed. Rish Lakish disagrees. We attempted to find some rayas, which were not really successful. And finally, we had a machlekes tanaim regarding a similar case of an arev coming forward at the last minute. And it seemed that in somewhat way it was totally in that machlekes. Gufa, let's perhaps go back to Amar of Gidl Amar Rav regarding the pre-marriage arrangements. How much are you going to offer for your kid? Kach v'kach. Such and such. Kach v'kach. They proceed. They get married. Kanu. All their commitments are now legally binding. Heinein advarim. Haniknim ba'amiro. Even though it was just verbal expressions, it has a koyach of a commitment. Amar Rav mistavra. It is probable, it makes sense, that Milsa the Rav, this halacha presented by Rav, that the arrangements are legally binding, bibiti nara, when we're speaking about a father marrying off his nara daughter, between 12 and 12 and a half, in which case the kamati anol liyodei, he gets something from it. The kiddushin money goes to the father, so in exchange for that, he's committing wholeheartedly to what he said. Aval begeres, when it comes to a full-fledged adult, in which case the father gets no benefit from the kiddushin, she gets the money. Loi, in this case, we don't consider his words legally binding. So this is Rava interpreting Rav. V'alekim. And the Gemara responds, Rava himself responds, Omar Rav, that Rav in fact applied his halacha afilu beigeres, even to a beigeres. Why? He's not getting anything from this kedushin. That doesn't matter. Because otherwise, what about Aviyah Ben? We had her father and his father as well committed. Mayhana asal yade. What does the chassan's father get from the marriage? He's not getting any kedushin money. Ella, rather, why is he committing? By yana. Because of this immense pleasure, this nachas, upon seeing his children, preparing for marriage. Gamri umakni la'adodi. Since they see their kids preparing for marriage, the excitement of that anticipation brings a gemirus das. They are totally committed, wholeheartedly to what they committed, and their obligations are legally binding. So even though they didn't actually do a kinyan, Rashi points out, they didn't actually, exchange the handkerchief or do any kinyan, just words alone, that is sufficient to get it up and going, to enshrine it into a legal document, as we learned in Rashi and Amud Aleph. The Edom can now testify as per these commitments. But the fact is, it's not so clear, as we're going to see in a minute, whether in fact we could actually turn it into a document. Amali Ravina Ravashi, I have a question for you. Devarim halol, these arrangements, these verbal commitments that the Edom are observing and these things become legally binding. Nitnu likasev, are they meant to be recorded and written down in a document? Or nitnu likasev, or perhaps not, because you don't want to collect from mishubadim. Rashi says when you put it into a shtar, that allows the holder of the shtar to expropriate properties which are committed to this commitment, to this obligation. Is that allowed or not? Well, the fact is, as we mentioned, although they're committed, but there was no kinyan, so they didn't really go through the whole formal process of a kinyan, etc. So perhaps in this case, you have no right to collect from mishubadim. It's not so publicized and well known. Unfair to go expropriate properties. So which way is it? Yes or no? Amar Lehi responds, Loy nitnu likasev, although it's legally binding, everybody's committed to what they said, but don't put it into writing. Esvei, we have a kasha from our Mishnah. So this fellow committed to feed his wife's daughter for a number of years, and the Mishnah tells us that the hapikh and the wise fellows, they would write as follows. In their commitment, they would stipulate almanas she'azunas bitei chamish shanim. Okay, yeah. Sure, I'm marrying on condition that I provide for your daughter, a 5-year commitment. Kol zman she'atimi, as long as you're married, as long as you're with me. This preempts the whole issue of the Mishnah. So if she separates, his chiyuv stops. Okay, bottom line is, the Mishnah says, Hayu kaisvin. And we're speaking about the pre-marriage arrangements. They would actually put it in writing. That's a raya that it's meant to be recorded. Answers the Gemara, my kaisvin, although the Mishnah uses the word kaisvin, which indicates writing, perhaps it just means aimrim. It was verbally expressed. Vikarli lamiro ksiva, since when is verbalization referred to as ksiva? And yes, we do find as such. Vatnan, as the Mishnah says, hakaisev leishtoit, dvarim einli b'nechsayich, we had this a couple of weeks ago. So he commits to his wife in writing, look, I'm disengaging from your properties, etc. That's the Lashon Mishnah. V'tani Reb Chi, Reb Chi explained, although we have ha'kaisev, but really ha'imr le'ishta, he switched it to ha'imr because ha'imr and kaisev in some cases are just synonymous. So although our Mishnah also used the word kaisev, perhaps it was just a verbal commitment. Tashma. Ein kaisevin ishtori erusin unesuin elamida shneim. You're not meant to formulate documents pertaining to the engagement and marriage of a couple unless both parties agree to formulate it in writing. We have a diuk. Apparently, if they're both in agreement, we can go and record it in writing. That's a raya in the affirmative. My love story, Psikta will assume we're speaking about these pre-marriage arrangements, which are meant to be recorded in a formal document form. We're not speaking about those documents. We're speaking about real official engagement documents. We know that one of the methods of acquiring an isha by way of kedushin is through a shtar. Right? You have a shtar and it says, you are mekudesh to me, and you give it to her, that makes her mekudesh. That's what we're speaking about, nothing to do with monetary commitments, totally unrelated. And the Bryce is telling us that before you write that shtar kedushin, make sure both parties agree. Make sure the man and the woman are fully aware of the fact that you're writing a shtar on their behalf. Kedra Papa of Shravia. The Itma, as we learned. Let's say he writes the shtar kedushin for her sake, meaning with full intention of using it for this particular isha. But he failed to inform her that he's doing this, that he's writing the document. She only found out later. Now we know that by a get, you need lishma, and you also need the consent and awareness of the fellow who's executing that, kinyan, the one who's sort of giving away. It's the husband who's sort of letting go of that wife. The question is whether by shtar kedushin, where actually she's the one giving herself away, she's the makna, do you need her awareness, her consent, prior to sitting down and writing that shtar? Interesting machlekes discussed in Maseches Gittin. We have machlekes. Rabbi Ravina Amri Mikudeshes. You don't need the das of the isha when you write the shtar. It's okay. It works regardless. Rav Papa Rav Shravya Amri. No, Eina Mikudeshes. Just as per a get, the shtar kedushin as well requires her das, and that's what the Brisa was speaking about. You cannot write the shtori erusin unesun unless they both know. Meaning, you need the isha's das as well. Okay, unrelated to premarital, arrangements and financial agreements. Toshma, here comes another raya, which would indicate that these things are meant to be recorded in formal document form. So back to the Mishnah. The fellow committed to feed his stepdaughter for 5 years. Then the mother of that daughter, his wife, separated, married somebody else. Same commitment came forth. He's also committed. Then she married, then whatever. And the daughter grew up and married, etc. We had that in the Mishnah, right? Now, Mesu. Suppose husband 1 and 2 who are still committed to the 5-year feeding pass away. We find something interesting now. They have their own personal kids, and they have this stepdaughter that they're still providing for. It's like a balchayv. They owe her that money. It's not Tanai Ksuba. It's not the standard, process applied to a regular household, where we know that daughters continue to be fed after a father's passing due to the Tanai Ksuba. That's your own kids. But regarding these stepkids, which he had committed to, that's a totally different chiyuv. That's a balchayv. So we find a disparity in terms of their ability to claim. So the husband 1 and 2 passed away, their own daughters, their own natural daughters, they are fed from free and available properties, because we know that mizonis to daughters only come from available assets. They can't take from a buyer. One of the reasons is because it's just an open-ended commitment. It has no set value, and it's hard to circumvent and to be aware of this type of commitment. It's just endless, right? Never know how much they're going to need. So you can never take from a buyer. But vihi, as opposed to this stepdaughter who got a 5-year, it was a defined, set 5-year commitment. Since it's a defined chiyuv, she's like a regular bal chayv. She can take from buyers as well. People who purchased fields or assets during these from these husbands after they had committed to her, her mizonos. Exactly, because she's like a regular Baal HaSchayv who has the ability to collect from Mishub Batim. So we're speaking about this premarital commitment to provide for her stepdaughter. And still we see that she's treated like a regular Baal HaSchayv with the ability to collect from Mishub Batim. Apparently, they had formulated a formal document to support this commitment. So that's a right that we had Kaisev. Answers the Gemara, no. Perhaps there was no shtar. Why is she collecting from Mishub Batim? Hachav Mayaskinan. Bishakano miyadoi. No. So according to Rashi, it means like this. Perhaps there was a kinyan done. He made a kinyan. A formal, commitment. In which case there's no question that can be put into writing. When there was no kinyan, we had a question whether it's fair to put it into writing, whether you have a right to go from Mishub Batim, because it wasn't, such an elaborate process. Who says the word really spread, etc. But when they actually made a kinyan, such as in this case, he committed with a kinyan, then he could put it in writing. She's a regular Baal HaSchayv who collects from Mishub Batim. Well, if that's the case, why only her? What about the other daughters? If so, that there was a kinyan, Bonois Nami, his own kids as well, should have the same rights. They made a kinyan for the stepdaughter, not for their natural daughters. Umay Paska? Is that an absolute circumstance? What makes you think that, typically the kinyan is for the stepdaughter, not for the own kids? Why would you say that? Answers the Gemara very simply. Ihi the havoy b'shas kinyan, the stepdaughter that was present when the husband committed, who made the kinyan before marriage, she was there. She had come from another marriage. Mahani lo kinyan, so the kinyan benefits her, and she has that extra right, as opposed to his own daughters who came only, by way of this marriage. They came later. The bonus that were born after the kinyan, they have no benefit from the kinyan, which was not applied to them. It predated their arrival into this world. And that's why we have this distinction. Asks the Gemara, who's to say they weren't there? Maybe he remarried. He had his daughters, divorced his wife, remarried her. In which case, he had daughters who preceded the second marriage and were there when he made that kinyan in advance of that second marriage. Who says we're not speaking the Avoy Bashas kinyan, that his own natural kids were present when he made the kinyan? What are we speaking about? He divorced her and retook her, and they were all there at the second marriage. So why this distinction between this set of kids and those set of kids? Ella, rather, the answer is like this. The lesser b'tanai bezin, his stepdaughter, was not really included in a tanai bezin. There's no chiyuv to feed a stepdaughter. Mahani lo kinyan. So the kinyan benefits her and empowers her like a regular balas chayv, as opposed to banis, his own natural daughters. The isno b'tanai bezin, who are accommodated due to the tanai bezin, the standard commitment to feed your daughters after your passing. In that case, the kinyan does not benefit them, and they can't be treated like a regular balas chayv. Migra gari, what do you mean? Why are they worse off than the stepdaughter just because they're getting the tanai bezin? If anything, they should be better. Ella, rather like this. For that same very reason, because there is a stronger commitment to your own kids, that presents a greater concern that perhaps he had already given them advance payment. Ella b'noisav, why can't his own personal kids collect from Mishu Badim? Given the Isnu b'Tnai Bezin, since they're included in the standard Tnai Bezin, there's always a concern that he already looked after them. Amar, we can speculate that surety, the bundles of money, Atvesinu, he had already put into their possession before his passing. And Taisus adds, a person looks after, is concerned about the needs of his daughters. So perhaps well ahead of time, he had already prepared them for this eventuality, gave them an advance, savings account to account for their post-death needs, and therefore we don't let them collect from his shubbatim, as opposed to the stepdaughter, where his commitment to her is simply, due to his commitment. It's not a Tanai Bezin, it's not his natural kid. In that case, he's not overly frenzied about providing for her. In this case, rest assured, her balance, her chayiv, is still outstanding, and she can collect from buyers from Mishabadim as well. Says the Mishnah. Well, this fellow committed 5 years for his stepdaughter's mezainis. Then his wife disappears, right? They divorce. She goes and marries a second fellow. The first husband can't say, look, sure, I'll feed the daughter. Let her come back to me. No, says the Mishnah. Rather, he has to be moilech la mezainis. He has to go feed her l'makom she'ima, where her mother is, which sounds like daughter always lives with her mother. In fact, we can learn a halacha from this Mishnah. Bas etzel ima. A daughter is always by the mother. The Farshim explained the mother has the ability to train her child regarding all the womanly halachas, tznius, etc. So it's appropriate and beneficial for the child, for daughter to be with mother. How do you see this from this Mishnah? Who says we're speaking about an adult girl? And perhaps the Mishnah is specifically speaking about a small daughter, a young kid, which presents a special concern. And there, we are particular about her living with her mother. Because of the following story. The son, Mishames, a fellow passes away. Viniach ben Katan li'imai, left behind a young boy to his mother. Just a way of saying, he left behind a young boy, and there's a mother. Question: who has custody? The mother, or perhaps the Yershim, the parted fellow's brothers, want to keep the boy with them. They have to take care of him, they want to feed him nearby. They don't want to have to trouble themselves to bring the Yerusha. After all, this boy is now Yerush, the father's assets. They don't have to deliver his food to him every day. Who gets custody? Yerush Av Imrim, his father's family say, so let him stick around here. He Gadol Etzlin, we'll take care of him. The mother says, with me, I want to raise him. He stays by his mother. As opposed to leaving him amongst the other family members who are technically his Yershim, because when he passes away, if he should pass away, all his assets that he got from his father goes over to them, and that presents a grave concern. In fact, it was a story. Erev, this is a Rashi Tevis, Erev Harishan, the first night they killed him in order to get his Yerusha. So it presents an sign, a temptation, and they succumb, so we don't want to leave him with them. It's unsafe. There's a girsa on the side, Shechtu Erev HaPesach, And the point was that even Erev Pesach, which pretty much made them tamei because they killed him and preempted any Korban Pesach, they couldn't get involved in the. They missed out on the Korban Pesach opportunity. They were so frenzied and bound to get his Yerusha, they killed him Erev Pesach, at the expense of Korban Pesach. So they bring that they changed it to Ayin Reishei because of the because it was censored. Because it would sound like we kill people Erev Pesach, so they took it out, changed it to a Rosh Tevis, which sounds like Erev Harishan. In any case, leaving this kid amongst the other family members is unsafe. So perhaps here as well, by the daughter. The reason why she's going to the mother isn't necessarily because mother always has custody over daughter. Rather, if we're afraid about leaving her amongst those family members who might threaten her in order to get her Yerusha. And perhaps this only applies to a Ketana. Rashi says by a Gedayla, there's no such concern of Ritzich, of killing. So perhaps by a girl who's older, it isn't necessarily with the mother that she will stay. So you have no raya, says, to Rav Chizda's halacha. Says the Gemara, no, I do have a raya. Imkain, because if that was the only concern, and we're only speaking about a Ketana due to safety concerns, then the Mishnah should have used different words. Listening, the Mishnah should say that the husband has to feed her, has to deliver the mizonis l'makim shehi, wherever she is. Now we'll know that the Ketana stays with the mother, and the Gdoila elsewhere. My l'makim she'ima. Why does the Mishnah specify? You bring the food to her mother's location, which sounds like in all cases we do that. Shamas mina, we hear from this. Bas eitzel a daughter belongs with mother, loishna gdoila, loishna ktana, whether she's older or younger, doesn't matter. That's her place. Okay, so let's summarize today's daf, which had pretty much four segments. We had this informal commitment in writing. I owe you money. There's no chasima, there's no formal document involved. Rabbi Yehuda says it's binding, Rosh Hashanah says it's not. We tried to bring some rayas. We ended with a machlekes tanaim in the sugya of a cosigner, an arev. We have these premarital arrangements, which are legally binding because of the hana, because of the anticipation, the excitement of the upcoming marriage. The Edom could take that, experience and formalize it and hold them to their word. The question is whether they can actually put it in writing. That was another shaila. Rav Ashi says you cannot put it in writing. We don't want it to become a real formal document and actually used for collection from Mishur Badim. We had some kasha, some rayas on that. We left it unresolved, and we concluded with the concept that a bas belongs with the mother. This way, she's in the right setting to properly be neschanech from her mother. Hatzlacha Rabba and Besureis Teva.